This is Jeremy. Welcome to Eighthworld. Good day, everybody. This is Jeremy. Welcome to the Season 1 finale of Eighthworld Podcast. Thanks to everyone who has been with me so far, and welcome to anyone whose first Eighthworld experience is about to happen. I appreciate you all. Be sure to check out the episode description below for relevant links pertaining to what I talk about in today's episode. It will serve as my Works Cited page, if you will. Years ago, I wrote a blog post asking for help in rediscovering my first issue of Batman. My dad purchased it for me in the early 90s. The Joker was on the cover, really close up, like he's forcing his head through some narrow opening trying to escape the page. Inside, Batman and the Joker are somehow transformed into massive, beefed-up versions of themselves and knock each other around the city until the Joker ends up embedded in the side of some sort of water tower. I guessed at first, incorrectly, that Bane venom may have been involved somehow, given the gigantification of the characters and the early 90s time frame. No one ever came forward to offer any guidance on what the issue was, or with any information at all, really. I spent years searching databases of Batman comic book covers and articles about the early 90s and DC in general, and came up with nothing. Then, a couple of months ago, I struck gold in my search. I stumbled across an article at the Comics Journal from 2018 about an artist named Vince Giorano, and I had it. The top image for the piece is even from the comic I'd been searching for. The issue in question was Batman Annual number 16 from the summer of 1992. I was 5 years old and still learning how to read, but my God did the art from the issue, which was written by Alan Grant with the pencils by Vince Giorano, stick with me. Especially that shot of the Joker embedded in the side of the gas tower, and Batman coming at him with a steel beam to impale him. The story itself was from a line-wide event from 1992 called Eclipso: The Darkness Within, which was a big retcon of the Eclipso villain who still remains pretty obscure to this day. Basically, DC took an old, unremarkable Mr. Hyde-type villain, Eclipso, who emerged from a Dr. Jekyll-type scientist named Bruce Gordon. This was an inside joke for the company, combining Bruce Wayne and James Gordon. Yeah. The story transformed Eclipso into the Spectre's predecessor as Spirit of Vengeance. His position was stripped from him for his hubris, and he was imprisoned in a black diamond. As of the 1992 story, the diamond had been shattered into numerous shards around the world, and anyone who gripped one of these shards with rage in their heart would transform into an Eclipso-possessed version of themselves, and this could be done several times at once somehow, as can be seen in this issue with Batman and the Joker. Now, to look at Eclipso, I couldn't help thinking that he looked a little something like the Thor villain Malekith from over at Marvel, and I wonder if this wasn't one of those doubling of characters the big comics companies pull sometimes to try to enjoy each other's successes. Story-wise, this is definitely one tale coming off the heels of the darkening of Batman in the mid-80s. Batman is brutal with criminals and kind of generally hostile with everyone else. I enjoyed this take on the Joker as well. He's still a goofy, psychotic killer, as he should be. The very pointy facial features and huge, crazy eyes really work for him here. And also remember that this issue came out earlier in the same year that Batman the Animated Series started, and Harley Quinn didn't exist yet. I really enjoyed the ads in this one. There's an ad poster for a Green Lantern Ganthet story I'm going to have to try tracking down next, given the names associated with it. I think I'll also try piecing this entire Eclipso story together too, though according to the Wikipedia page on it, it is massive. Like something in the avenue of close to 30 issues when you take into account everything that touches the event. And check out the traditional muscle-building products and discount nerd memorabilia advertisements tossed it for good measure. Now, if that's not nostalgia, I don't know what is. Also, the back cover with the Danny DeVito penguin from Batman Returns and the little handheld video game really made me smile. I'm pretty sure that I had that game. And according to the Comics Journal article that I mentioned earlier, this is one of only 2 Batman stories that Vince Giorano ever drew, and he had a fairly limited but excellent run of work in the early 90s in the comics industry before leaving to become a traditional painter. I think next season I'll cover the other Batman issue, which I also managed to acquire along with this annual. All told, I managed to reclaim a piece of my early childhood, and I have a better understanding of my own personal development as a comic book fan because of it. Thank you for this one, Dad. Whether you knew it or not, you started a lifelong fascination with this comic book. Beforehand, my experience with Batman was probably about like most people's. I knew him from the Adam West TV show that was still syndicated in the mid-'80s when I started watching it, and also the '89 Michael Keaton Batman movie. Batman Returns hadn't even really come out yet, I don't think, as of the time of this comic issue emerging. So, what was your first experience with Batman? If you've read Batman comics, what was your first one? What do you remember from early childhood when it comes to Batman? What does Batman mean for you? Batman for me means a lot of things. He was a focus, one of several, in my master's thesis. He's the intellectual anti-hero that we all need and deserve. And in this issue of this comic, he's also a man willing to get his hands dirty to help others in need, but he's also not willing to take crap from anyone at the same time. And for a first experience with Batman, I think that this was a good one. Whole clash of godly titans and all. Thank you all for listening to the first season of my podcast. Eighthworld has been a labor of love, of my mental vomit over the past months, and I thank you for bearing with me and hopefully enjoying some of the ride along the way. I'll be back later in the year. Be sure to keep passing along my episodes to like-minded individuals who might enjoy them, and at any point on any of my episodes, feel free to leave comments and engage with them. I love having conversations about anything that I enjoy. Eighthworld Podcast is and always shall be partnered with and sponsored by Misplaced Muse Creative, an excellent source for bookish gifts, wax goods, and hot beverages. Please check out the episode description for their social media links and website. Also check out the episode description, as I said at the top of the episode, for relevant links for sources for this piece, and also for my own social media. Or feel free to drop me an email if you'd like. Again, I'd love to hear from you. Thanks again, and I'll see you all later on. Bye for now.